Alright guys, I guess we're back. Normally I start these with something saying I'm about to start it, but evidently not anymore. Alright, so I'm using a rabbit from the Zzoo library in Zbrush. And this is just a little rabbit made of Z-spheres just to get my speed going here. And this is just something you can take and adjust and move around, do whatever you need to. And I believe I can just take this and make I think an adaptive skin. I don't know if I want to do adaptive or a unified, but let's find out which. I think adaptive is the one I want. So now I can come in here and just smooth this and do whatever I need to do. Unified might have been the one I wanted though. So let's find out again. Let's see here. I'm going to go here and try now a unified skin. See if we have more luck. Evidently not what I was wanting. Actually, let me move over to my... Not what I was wanting to do. So let's go back to the other one. And now we can start smoothing and doing what we need to on this particular dude. Just gonna test this here. And what I'm gonna do first is in my geometry tab, going to go ahead and delete our lower subdivisions to start with and come in with our Dynamesh and Dynamesh this all together. That's going to ruin my detail, so let me go ahead and up that a bit. We don't need a lot of detail from this because it's pretty wonky looking as it is. But, hey, Jobin Joseph, how you doing? It's a little complicated. It's not horrible, but it's like anything else. You just work with it, and eventually you get it. The thing about ZBrush that is so complicated is honestly where they put the menus. They're crazy, but eventually you get used to it. I mean, I've been working with it for about 15 years, though, since an early version, but I still get lost. I'm thinking about transitioning over to Blender as they make it better and better, though. It's just nice to have it all in one package, and with the purchase by Maxon and then not honoring my lifetime license, I was a little bit upset. So anyway, let's what was I doing? Totally lost. Oh, I want to see about remeshing this now. So in my Z remesher, I'm gonna leave it pretty low and just see what happens here, because I don't want a lot of topology here or geometry here. I just want to align all of it, you know. So we'll just get that sorted out, and now that's much better. This is just going to be like a static plushie figure that's sitting on a shelf. So we're going to go with that, and then now I can go ahead and divide this up. Right now we're looking at only 14,000 polygons, so I'm just going to divide it up and start smoothing some stuff here. Smoothing is a bit heavy. Turn it down a little bit, and just trying to get rid of some of the transition lines. Kind of want to make that a little puffier in the middle because I don't really care for that way that looks. We're going to go back and do another Dynamesh on this here in a minute. And the purpose of Dynameshing for me in this moment is to sort of meld all, like those seams that won't go away, that'll sort of meld all that back together when it does this Dynamesh. The remeshing is just to get my polygons lined up to flow with the body. It's like a quick topology tool. I usually don't do it more than once in the beginning, because you don't want to ever do it after you've done a whole lot of work, because for one, it'll take forever if you do it at high resolution, and another, there's just no point to do all that later. So yes, go ahead and delete my lower levels, and now we are, let me undo that because I killed our resolution. I'm going to up the resolution here quite a bit. And now, yes, freeze those, get rid of those, whatever you need to do. That is still pretty low. I'm going to make sure, let me undo that one more time, that we are on, where's my Dynamesh here, blah, 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 blur, resolution. I don't know why I'm not seeing something that I normally do. Let me just up the resolution here and go for it. We'll say no. Okay. Now it's got some good resolution going. Probably too much, in fact. You can always turn it back down, though, which is kind of nice. Let's go ahead and bring this guy back down now. And see what that done when I come in here and smooth with my smooth intensity turned up. You can see that it will wipe that seam away. Wipe that seam away. I'm going to bring the resolution back down and re-Dynamesh and see if I can get a little faster response here, because there's no reason to have as much resolution as I've got. I was just trying to get it past where it was. There we go. That's a little better. But I didn't want to kill all the resolution in it. So that's working. We'll just get rid of all these sort of weird Z-sphere looking artifacts that are left over there. This is just going to be a plushie toy that's sitting on a kid's shelf in his room. Okay, that's looking okay. And the ears are a little bigger and definitely not in a position that I would want to use them in. There are a few different ways of adjusting the position. I'm going to do the old school simple way by masking them like so. And probably about like that, and tapping the blur. Excuse me. I don't want this in symmetry mode though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sculpt my ears first, then I'm going to move them, which I highly recommend. Do stuff like that. So now we're just going to kind of carve out the ear inside a little bit. You don't want these horribly thin. They will cause problems later. In fact, if I get these too thin, I'll have to go back and inflate parts of them, but I guess that's pretty good. So, not too bad. Now we've got some concave ears there. I do want it to feel like the head and limbs and stuff are sewed on, so we will make some drawn on seams here in a bit. But one thing I really want to do when I'm done sculpting the whole thing is slouch him. So I'm going to take his whole body and kind of bend it down, hang the head, make it look like he's been sitting on the shelf, almost said something dirty, for a long time. So I'm just going to try and smooth up the belly a little bit also. I don't really care for that band, you know, running across there as bad as it was. And see, now I can come in here with our stamp standard tool and use this to make seams. So I'm just going to draw a size about there, and I can come in here and say, hey, look, there's a seam for the leg right there, and there's one for the toes and so forth. We'll never see this, but you can also come in here and say, these are my bottom seams for a piece that gets sewn on for the paws, which is kind of cute. And of course, do like a chest, a chest piece that kind of goes like this, and then eventually comes around, kind of like that. And we can go ahead and sharpen up some of these places where it's obviously supposed to have seams and stuff. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because this is just a little thing sitting on the kid's shelf. No reason to spend hours and hours and hours doing this, but I'm just trying to make it cute and presentable, where you get the idea that that's what it is. This head is a really bad shape in my opinion. Looks more like a chocolate Easter bunny type of bunny here. I don't care for that at all. I considered making this completely from scratch. I'm still considering making it from scratch, because it's pretty, it's kind of pretty bad. Let's just start it over. Why not? So, document. You'll see what I mean. This will be way better. And it'll go really fast. New document. No, don't save those changes. And we're done. Okay, let me undo that. And we're just going to start with a scene like, let's go with tool. And we'll just start with a polysphere like so, and make sure that it is a polymesh. I'm sure that it is. Let me just pull that in there first. And then we'll go to edit, close our lightbox, and make sure this says polymesh 3D on it. There we go. And now we have our ball here, making sure our X symmetry is turned on. We can sculpt whatever we want. And let's just go ahead and make this how it should have been in the beginning. So we're just going to get with our move tool. Where are you? There we go. And do this the way I want to do. So I'm just going to pull this up, give him a bit of a body. He needs to be real slouchy and hunched over. Very simple. And I mean, this goes very quickly. So we're going to create another subtool here, and we're going to throw on another sphere. Boom. Like so. We're going to work on one leg here. I'm just going to move this over to the side. Whoops, not that one, but the other one. That. Move this over to the side. We'll make that smaller. See, it's not that hard when you start working. It feels like, oh my God, that's so complicated. It's really not. It's like a lot of other 3D programs, honestly. Okay, see, perfect. And there's a thigh that can be pulled out, etc. And check this out, masking. It's one of the coolest things here. If I mask, whoops, that's not masking. If I mask this area here like so, I'm actually drawing a mask on it, and I click to swap it out to invert that mask. I can take that whole area, pull that out for his foot, and then of course unselect everything. That will get inflated by using the inflate tool like this. Whoops, way too much. And just turn down the draw size, turn down the intensity a little bit, and kind of, not big enough, and balloon that foot out a little more like that. We're starting to get his paw kind of thing going on the front. You see how those polygons are getting stretched out? Well, that's what the Dynamesh, once again, will be for, or after. It's me trying to be funny. That's what that'll be for. Whoops, we're still in our inflate tool. We want the move tool, and you can use keystrokes as shortcuts to select your tools, which I like to use. They're easy to learn. M for move. I mean, go figure. That's real difficult, right? D for the damn standard tool, which is the one that gives me like sort of those creases and things for doing the seams and so forth. Just the major creases and all that kind of stuff. So I can pull this leg down a little bit more, kind of like that. Be a little more slouchy. The body, we go back to the body now. We can pull some of that down, smooth it out. A little more of the booty on that guy right there. Not an actual one, so I'm just going to wipe that crack, as they say. There we go. And from the side, it looks like he's leaning back some. So I'm going to bring my size of my brush up a little bit. Sort of do one of these. We're starting to get a back on him now. You can kind of see how this is a better style of plushie, right? And I'll probably bring up the side of that leg slightly, like so. Just give him a little more height to the leg. Now to fix all that bad geometry there, I'll turn on the polyframe and you can see, look, it's all stretched and weird. That's a matter of, at this point, probably going in and dynameshing that leg. Probably should have done that anyway. This is going to screw all that up and make it very just grid-like. But if you once you get to a point where your dynameshing's done, you're moving those extreme stuff, and you want it to be proper topology, you can go back and do a Z remeshing on it, but you don't have to, because you're going to retopologize it in another program anyway. This is going to be, where's my Dynamesh right here at 128. Sure. And nope, that's way too big. Up our resolution quite a bit more. Dynamesh it now. No, don't get rid of those. Ooh, okay. What it wants me to do is get rid of some of the subdivisions. So I'm going to delete the ones beneath it. And now Dynamesh that at 120 and it'll be fine. There we go. That's what it wants. And that's what it gets. Nice crunchable birdses. Alrighty, so that's good to go on that piece. We'll leave it for now. We're going to wind up eventually mirroring that over, but this is what I'm talking about with the Z remesher. You can see this is all like just a grid pattern. It goes grid, 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 grid. It doesn't flow with the surface at all. We want that to flow more with the surface. I'm going to just make a change to the shape here a little bit first. Give you a better idea. If I, whoops, that's way too big. If I make a crease in the leg here, kind of like that, I'm going to go back and fix that quite a bit. But I make a crease in the leg, kind of like that. That's kind of a surface flow now. I'm gonna get rid of the polyframe. You can kind of see how that sort of creates kind of a surface a contour that the surface follows, right? Flows with it. When you go in and do the Z remeshing, it will actually change the contour of those polygons to follow that shape, which you really want, if you can. See, that's just really big sweeps there that I'm doing. But let's say you make your draw size a lot smaller, like so. It's so low resolution though, I'm just taking giant cuts through there, which I'm not a real fan of. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep working, and you're going to kind of see this happen as I do it. If I talk too much about it and try to show you too much directly, I'm going to wind up forgetting what I'm doing and probably messing the whole thing up. So just watch. You'll see what I mean. I'll call it out when I'm going to do the remeshing and stuff, but I need to get the shape kind of the way it really is going to be, mostly, before I go in there and do that remeshing. I don't want to mesh it up. Yep, dad jokes. They are plenty around here. Anybody has dad issues, you're in trouble. Okay, so there we go. There we go. A little more smoothing right through here. This is just the major stuff I'm trying to do. I think that's all right. We're going to inflate that toe a little bit, though. It looks kind of bad. Look at that. So inflate the toe. This will look bad also until I do this remeshing. Can dynamesh it again. That helps it, of course. Just realigns all the polygons that you've already used. You'll see me dragging off like that. Masking nothing, but it's kind of the shortcut trigger to make ZBrush Dynamesh, something you already have. I know I'm probably making it seem even more confusing than it already did, but you know. All right, I'm gonna puff up the back of this leg. Puff up the volume. Puff up the volume. Yeah, puff up the rabbit. Come on now, everybody laugh. That's what I do. I make people laugh, obviously. It's what I'm really good at, obviously. All that laughter in this room is telling me that for sure. Okay, so a little more below, a little more up, a little more of this. A little smoothing under there. Okay. Frame that, kind of see what I'm doing. Frame it again, frame it again. Try to zoom out. So that is kind of okay. We're going to go ahead and try to Z-remesh this. Hopefully at a decent resolution for it. And it's going to take it from those grid-like with no flow polygons to ones that actually flow around the shape better. I don't know if you can see the difference there. So that'll be our starting point anyway. And we'll go in and subdivide that, and it'll get more resolution, but it'll be in that flow. It'll be in those lines. I hope that that makes sense. I'm just going to smooth this down a little bit. And so that's a 5,000 polygon leg there, basically, or points anyway. Polygons is probably going to be about a 1,000, 1250 polygon leg. And I'm probably going to go ahead and thinking about going ahead and mirroring it over, because we're going to have, we have our X symmetry turned on, so everything we do over here is going to happen over there too. I just sometimes try to think, you know, when's the best time to do it, but I guess now would be fine. So we just go into our subtools. That's what these are made up of. They call their objects in here subtools. And we're going to select that particular one. We're going to click duplicate, and then we have to go, which is silly, to another menu altogether to go ahead and mirror that across. And oh, there's multiple subdivision levels, so we have to come out and change that. So on our, not on our subtool, I'm sorry, on our geometry, we have to go back up here and delete the lower subdivision levels. This is where it is probably technical. Sorry about that, but yeah, there are some things that are just ridiculous. So this leg now, I'm going to go ahead and it's there. It now needs to mirror over, like we said. Right here in the deformation tab, mirror, boom, we have two that are exactly the same. There's our basis, the lower half of our bunny body. That's my new band name. And we're going to add another, append another sphere for this guy. This, I'm going to move to the top because we're going to use this as our head, the head ball. And I'm just going to move it with the move tool here. Of all things, I know, pretty weird. And we're just going to frame this up again. Make it a little smaller. Get it set up on the top. Remember, he needs to be slumped, so I'm going to do some basic slumping. Rigging, animating. The plushie will not be rigged or animated. It's just going to sit on a shelf. But this particular movie doesn't have rigging. The figures I'm bringing in, I've already rigged in another program when I do some videos on that. But I will be doing an entire series of videos coming up that goes through building and designing a room, some pieces of furniture. There's going to be a goldfish and a goldfish bowl that will be rigged and animated. There will be a guy who comes in, sits in a chair watching TV that will be rigged and animated. And I'm going through every step to build everything in it, texture everything in it, rig and animate everything in it, do all the hair and any kind of post effects and lighting, and obviously the texturing and stuff in Substance Painter is what I'll wind up using for that. And then I will probably do the editing for it in DaVinci Resolve, all as one series of videos. So that is coming up. I'm just sorting out some of the details on that right now. So stay tuned for that kind of thing. I'll make sure we have our symmetry turned on for our head here, and we're going to pull out the face a bit like a bunny. And then I'll wind up using the inflate to try and just sort of, oops, that wasn't right, to sort of puff up this front section here of the nose. That's probably okay. Inflate a little bit for this area. Some smoothing there. It's all right. This is a plushie. I have to really remind myself that this is a plushie, because the first thing I want to do is start sculpting realism into it, and that's not what this is about. So we're going to go ahead for our head now, and I'm going to do our where is it? Where are you? Our Dynamesh. There we go. And we're going to up the resolution just a little bit and Dynamesh that guy. Free subdivision levels. No, we're going to delete those subdivision levels. Let me make sure that they are in fact gone. Yep, they are gone as far as I can tell. And we're going to go back. Where are you? Where are you? Geometry. Wow, there we go. We're going to go back to our Dynamesh. Re-Dynamesh this, make sure it's all good to go. I'm going to add a little bit of a chin kind of under here. It's that plushie I wanted as a kid. That's what that is. Okay, smooth these out. It feels like I've got quite a bit of divisions on there, so I'm gonna drop my resolution here a bit and re-Dynamesh this. Drop it a couple of times, in fact. Why does that feel like I have a whole lot of divisions on here? I'm just gonna drop it way down. Okay, we're good. Just gonna drop that down to about 72, just so I'm not working with too much geometry at once. And then I'm gonna come in here and start kind of figuring out sort of the lay of the land here. This is the Dam Standard tool. Damien Standard is what it is actually named, and everyone calls it Dam Standard by default. It's not the Dam Standard tool like you're mad at it, though, even though it seems like that. I call it that once in a while, though, for sure. Okay, so we've got a little bit of him working there. I'm going to make his ears now floppy instead of sticking up. So this is one other reason why I didn't want to work with that other one that I had, the beginning mesh, I should say. So we're just going to rotate also the head. I want it to be a little more down. I am going to off kilter it here in a while, but not at the moment. Also, the head will be meshed in with the body and re-dynameshed in seconds flat here. I'm going to, first of all, though, make an arm by adding another sphere in here. I believe I appended that. Let me just make sure it's in here. There we go. And, whoops, I turned off the head. Turn it back on. And come out here to the arm now, which we can't see because it's inside the body. We're going to move that, though, to be more where it goes, make it smaller. And I'm drawing on a Huion Canvas Pro graphic display. If you're wondering what I'm working on, it's that. This is going to be kind of a just a typical plushy arm here, and not going to give it any joints in the elbows or anything. It's just going to be kind of a stumpy type of arm. Get your mind out of the gutter. Okay, there we go. Kind of wanted to make it wider on the end. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the move tool for that. Sort of build it like this, stretched it out that way, stretch it out this way. That should be pretty good. And now we will have to Dynamesh this dude, because that will take care of all of our stretched polygons back in the geometry area there, and that is good to go now. So there is one arm. I might move it out. I'm just going to check it here and see. Yeah, to be a little more, I like it stubby though, for sure. Okay, so now I'm going to take that dude, going to go ahead and mirror him over, since that's essentially the full arm and how it's going to look. So we're going to duplicate. We're going to go down to the deformation tab, click mirror, and there we go. So now we have the main parts. The arms will of course be posed. We can start doing a little of that at the moment. Also, this you notice this control's on the wrong side of the body. That's because we can click control it like that to be wherever we want. You can also unlock it here, and then you can move it where you want to, and then just like moving your origin in Blender, and then we can relock the position of it once we have it where we want, and move it from there. So that's very, very handy way of working. And so back up here in our subtool menu, this is where all of our parts are at. We'll click the other arm. You can see that it's not in the right position. I'm just going to move this up to about the joint there. Bend this forward and down like the other arm is. So we have kind of a floppier look there. Works for me. I'm going to get the ears and stuff on before I, get the body kind of nastified. He will need a little tail as well, so we might as well throw that in here. Just going to append another sphere. It's just the easiest way to work. There's a number of ways you can do this, but appending spheres has just become kind of my go-to if you haven't noticed. Just make it smaller, put it a little lower there, a little bigger maybe, like that. Don't want it too big because it's going to have to probably sit up against a wall or something, and that might be a little strange or in the way. Okay, so before I attach the head and everything to the body, I'm going to go ahead and make the ears here. So we are going to start yet again, you guessed it, by appending another sphere. There we go, append. Sometimes the menus jump closed on you, which is not my favorite thing in the world either. Let's see, where's our new sphere? There we go. We're going to get this guy up here, make it smaller, get it out. And obviously these are going to be duplicated, so we're going to move one to the side and just start working on its overall shape. That white circle is just rotating it to camera view. The red one here is the one I want, and we'll do it like so, and we'll get this nice and thin. Probably get this a little farther out on the head there, a little farther out there, maybe a little thinner this way. So that's going to be our base there, and that will have to be somewhat rotated in to where it touches the body. That works. And then now I can come in here and really shape it. There's a number of ways of doing this too. Probably the inflate tool might be better for de-inflating or deflating the ear. De-inflating. Did I really say that? Okay, so we'll just kind of, this gives us kind of a smoother way to sort of take away volume. You can come back, of course, and smooth it down. But this way you're not digging away at it with a tool with sharp edges or anything like that. which makes it look a little nastier. And then now, of course, we can take that ear, duplicate it. And yes, dear, I'm ready anytime you are. And we can, once it's duplicated, we can come down here to our deformation tab and mirror that across. And we now have our 2 ears. So it's pretty much almost completely done, if you can believe it. The head, okay, that's our other one that we don't want. And that is something else that is not what we're working on. And now, for some reason, I can't find the bunny. There he is. I was like, whew, that was close. Okay, so now I want it to be in our subtool menu. That was a little scary. And come back up here to the head. We're going to need some eyeballs. Those are going to be probably just popped on the top. But to do that, I'm also going to want to make a depression for those. Oh, I'm so depressed. Okay, here we go. And we're going to zoom in a little more and kind of make a bit of a depression like that for it. There's not a lot of resolution in that head, you can tell. So in our geometry tab here, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the Dynamesh for now. And here we're going to divide, and you can see we get a lot more resolution to work with. You want to work with the least amount of resolution as you can until, you know, you don't have to. But as much as you can until you start having to up it is really what I'm saying. Because if you start working too much of it too soon, you're going to have some issues. Okay. Even now I might have a little too much for what I intended. I did start making a realistic nose on this guy, which is absolutely what I don't want. So I'm just going back here now and trying to make it a little simpler and a little more hand-sewn, I guess, and less organic, less realistic. I'm not trying to make it look like plastic, but definitely give it more of the feeling that it's been stitched together from pieces. And that maybe this nose is actually a plastic addition to it. So I'll go ahead and take care of that when we have a little more resolution to work with. And now, with that, there's always ways to improve this. It'll always need more and more and more. The idea is just to know when to quit. Alright, so now I'm going to give that head probably even more resolution and start kind of more finely smoothing, general smoothing some. You can see just by coming in here and polishing some stuff a little bit can have a good effect on it. This will need much more work before it's done, just so you know, but not too bad though. We're getting there. Softening up corners. I mean, it's supposed to be a plushie after all. I'm going to make sure I go back though and get those seams nice and crisp, and then I'm going to wind up putting stitching in them with a special brush that I have, which I recommend using these special brushes. They save your life. They really do. So I'm thinking about putting a seam kind of that runs like so to start with. I'll wind up cleaning all this up as I go. Like the intensity of my smoothing tool should probably be a little bit more. I'll wipe some of that stuff out as I make mistakes. Make the draw size of my brush a little bit smaller. It's a little harsh. That's the intensity. Just take the brush size down a little more too. Start kind of deciding, hey, this is exactly where this is supposed to go. Right now I'm just kind of going over and smoothing the corners of that seam a little bit. It's a little wooden, little plasticky. You can kind of see how that starts to really define that area a little nicer. And once you get in a flow with this program, you don't even think about it anymore. I mean, the biggest frustration you're ever going to have is where the heck did they put this thing I'm looking for? And it does. It sucks that way. Who knows? Maybe Maxon will adjust the menus a little bit. And then, of course, those of us who've gotten used to where they are now will never be able to find anything all over again. But, you know, just sounds like we're going to keep complaining about something, right? No matter what. Which is probably what they're thinking. They're going to find something to complain about anyway. Which may be true. Okay, so I'm probably going to fix up that lip in the front a little bit, but there's kind of a plushy head there. Probably going to bring a seam around, something kind of like that. I'm going to come in here and intensify that a little bit. Trying not to go over it, like double it like I just did. Otherwise I have to go back and do quite a bit of smoothing on that, but there are worse things. I could have a normal day job, right? That would be way worse. Oh, remember back when my life was so hard I had to smooth that rabbit seam twice? Yeah. I pick my battles. Okay, so that's pretty good. And I'll probably do a couple seams like this. It'll happen on both sides there nicely on its own because it's automatic with the topology turn or the symmetry turned on. You know, we'll put some little whiskers popping out of here. We'll wind up getting some texture on that nose. If it's a little plastic nose. Let's just go ahead and zoom back here. See where we're at. That's a tiny head. So that's telling me I need to make the head bigger. Let me know what you think so far. But let's make that head quite a bit bigger. I'm going to have to, of course, up the ears in doing that, but I think it's cuter with a bigger head. It's a little squishier feeling too, which isn't that the point. Let's just scroll down to where my ears are here now. I don't know if I can select both those at the same time. Of course not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete one of them. I'm going to move this one and up its size and everything, and then I'll mirror it again. It's just a lot simpler than trying to control two ears. I'll up the size just a little bit more. That's pretty good. Do that relative to the camera. Just trying to get it to kind of touch the body. I think that's probably okay, and I'll sculpt it to touch the body here shortly. Possibly. Let's go ahead and just move our deal to there, and now like so. And that'll work. And then now I'm going to duplicate and mirror that over. Once again, you see how that just kind of saves me a lot of time having to worry about both of them. Now we're good to go again. I think the scale of his head is much better than that tiny weird little head I had. Now when I slouch him over and everything, I think that'll just be a nicer looking piece altogether. I'm going to go ahead, I think, and get the ears embedded into the body. So, I don't know what I just did there, but we're going to move the ears up. Keep turning it off and on. Move this up. Above the arms. I should have labeled these. It would have been a lot more obvious what I was doing. And we'll get those now. Just under the head, because we're going to merge the head down into the ears. So with the head selected, we'll come down to our merge here. So this is just ridiculous menu setup. It's totally not fluid here. So we'll just merge that down. It can't be undone, which I think is another mistake on their part. Should be able to undo everything. So now the head and the ears are one. If we wanted to, we could go in there and do a really high end, which I probably should, do a high resolution Dynamesh on that. So let's go back into geometry, turn up the Dynamesh quite a lot, and just click the Dynamesh button. And what's going to happen now is it's not going to kill any of our detail. We can always drop resolution if we need to, which we probably will need to. I'm going to come in here and see how easily I can smooth those together, which is probably going to be not easy given the resolution that we're at. I'm going to drop the resolution back now again, re-Dynamesh, see what it kills in the face, which will probably be tons. And we can also jump into sculptress mode. It may give me a warning that I can't. But the larger our brush, the less resolution we'll give ourselves here. So we're lessening the resolution here right now with it. And that way when I do a regular smoothing with sculptures turned off, it smooths out really fast in comparison. Just a little trick. So we got that going on. Just to zoom out. Looking okay for a toy, I think. And now I think I'm going to go ahead and mesh the arms in with the body. So there's our head. Let's go ahead and mesh the head down. I say mesh, but merge the head down to the body, which cannot be undone. And now we're going to put the arms above the legs here. Those are two legs. We want to move the arms above them. The point being we can merge the upper body, head, everything down into the arms beneath them. So we'll merge down again. And now we'll merge down one more time. Now the body, the head, the ears, the arms are all one. The point of that is so we can smooth between them, but we'll still need to do a little Dynameshing on that. And we're going to go ahead and merge the head down with the legs, merge both of those. And that's our little tail back there, I believe. Double checking that. Should be the tail. Yep. I always like to double check. And so I don't merge something I don't want to. And now we are one solid piece of clay here for the entire figure. I'm going to go back into our Dynamesh. What you doing, babe? Going back into Dynamesh here. Put everything back together so that now, say with Sculptress or anything else, I can come in here and smooth all these areas out. Anything that's got a grid pattern, anything where the arms and legs meet that I want to smooth and make look nicer. All this polygonal kind of surface can now be taken care of and smoothed away. This is where we're doing a little polishing of the model in general. It's a lot to do for one little thing sitting on a shelf in the kids' room, honestly, but it makes a difference when it's just all done right. I got to tell myself that, otherwise I'll feel like I'm doing all this work for nothing. So, you know. Now my ears have melded into my legs a little, so they're not going to be moving a whole lot, just so you know. Just kind of give this the once over with that polygon texture I'm trying to get rid of. We can always also re-dynamesh again, which will clean up any kind of strange holes, stuff like that, usually like so. So zoom out here. So anything that has any kind of errors and stuff you want to sort of do while it's dynameshing or dynameshed. So if you have any funkiness, you can fix it, because it's in sort of a state that's pretty fluid and that allows for it to kind of act that way. Corrects a bunch of problems that you may have. When certain things are too thin and you dynamesh, or even merging or something, you can sometimes just while you're sculpting, you can just pull and poke all kinds of holes and stuff. So you need to kind of watch out for all that kind of thing. How long we have? How long do we have?
I'm just starting macaroni and cheese.
All right, so how long do we have?
Well, at least 15 minutes.
Okay.
15 minutes.
That's what I needed. All right, so now I'll just start smoothing some of this. I can come in here with our inflate tool if I want to puff up the back of the neck at all or anything. And obviously, see that dynameshing, if I re-dynamesh, that's going to meld that together more. Give me a nice seamless area back there if I want that. So I am looking for some kid voice actors for this particular little production. So if anybody knows any in my area, I've been contacted by a couple people. I'm trying to make some decisions. I'm also trying to wait a little bit before I make a decision to see what else comes through. So that's always good to do. Now I'm going to start doing some little seams here. I'm going to make my brush smaller. I'm just going to kind of cut across. That's probably bigger than I want. Maybe even more intense than I want. But I'm just going to start making these seams. Let's go a little bit bigger, less intense. So with that, I'm going to go back and do the hard line in the middle. Right now I'm just trying to create the sense of the seam pulling the fabric, making that sort of pillowed kind of look. You know, things get a little tucked. That tail's just going to be a puff ball. Get back out here. Okay, we're going to need to probably make the whole bottom of the foot, even the leg, have an area where it's drawn in like that. There will be a seam up the backs of the legs, as there would be, let's say, in a real one. There would definitely be a seam up the back. The whole thing, definitely a neck seam now. Trying to soften that out a little bit. Seam here. Whoops. Smooth, dude, smooth. Literally, I'm trying to smooth. Okay. Okay. The ears are going to have an edge seam. So you're going to basically come up like this, all the way to there. You're going to come around. Like so. The head is going to have seams on the side. That meet in the middle. Somewhat like that. I'm going to put one more that kind of comes up kind of like this. And then the arms will have a seam at the end that makes for the little paw stump. Huh?
Nothing.
And then these should have at least a seam running up the back of the arm. Here. And then I want to do a belly piece. It's kind of doing this. Whoops. Start at the bottom. Like so. Do that little smoothing. And now the toe lines a little bit more. I really kind of want to put these little paws here. They're not going to see them, but I'll know they're there. All right, and then probably a seam here. We're not going to see it, so I'm not really all that worried. I'm not sure why my arms aren't 100% symmetrical. That's disturbing. Because what I do to this side should be doing it to the other, and if it's not, there's a little bit of an issue. So it could be destroying one side with the others sculpting. So overall, that is not bad. We're going to go back in, though, with a finer version of this now. And inside those seams, we'll do another line that gives us our actual separating seam line here. That makes sense. So the other line was just to get the puff of the fabric. Get all this stuff kind of marked out. Might as well just do one that runs up the middle there. Let's come back and smooth that just a little bit here in a bit. Let you get the idea. I think I had something running here too. Doesn't matter. Go this way on it. This just gives us a little more defined crease there. It's going to get fuzz all over it anyway, but zoom out. Not really liking that much definition though, so gonna kind of tone that down here. A little bit of the sculptress smoothing. Undefining here. Maybe even a little more undefining. Then I'll go back with the other smooth brush, the actual smooth brush, and kind of knock that back. It's a little too sharp. For things on the face, it's fine, but I think I got it a little bit too crisp. Starting to look like robot panels, which that's not what I'm going for. This sits on a shelf way far away. I've got to remember that. So that's a little better. Too big. So we need to be able to come back in here and soften that out. I want the definition, just not really that much. I'm trying to figure out, I must have moved these arms separate of each other, which is a huge bummer. Because I can't go back and delete them and remake them because I've already committed them completely to the sculpture. So always get your stuff right before you move forward into a destructive part of your workflow. But sometimes you just don't know. So you can see on this side how my lines are going to be wrong, meaning I'm going to have to do those arms without my X symmetry turned on. Like that. Which is totally fine. A little bit of a bummer. Just filling in some of that. Little fill, a little smooth. Doesn't look bad, it just, you know, isn't perfect. It bugs me a little. It's alright. It's good to go now. Just get this straightened up, frame it out, turn it around, pass it around. Okay, let's see. It's alright, I did that without symmetry though. It's totally fine. Didn't kill anything. Still in business. Okay. So just continue with these seams and then wind up putting the stitching on them, and everything will be good to go. So this is just kind of the standard workflow that I have for stuff like this. Check out my other videos here on YouTube for more stuff of different kinds. I've also got some music and some other stuff. Check me out on Facebook, Sean Darling. Facebook, Sean E. Darling. No, Sean Darling. The Sean E. Darling is not a page I check. So that's Darling like sweetheart, because you know how I am. Alright, cool. So there he is. We just need to put the eyeballs on there. Pretty much get him out of here. So thanks for watching. Have a good evening, and we'll